Ladies and gentlemen, this story kind of baffled me a little bit. I could not find one single news video about this, and it kind of led me to believe that maybe the general media or the news stations didn't think this story was that important. But when y'all hear what this man did, not only where his background comes from, but the individual that you see on my screen is actually a former prosecutor. Now, just because of that title alone doesn't make him any better or worse than anybody else. It just means that he was in a position to try to, I guess, delegate people's legal situations. And you would just think that those people might be a little more hyper aware. Maybe that's the term I'm looking for. They should be way more aware about the things that they do in the situations that they get themselves into. But let me tell you the story. But before we do that, you guys know I got to give you a disclaimer because people like to flag the damn channel. But some of you might find my content controversial or offensive. The information is coming from credible sources. My video commentary is my opinion about the facts. The point is to try to use this as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like this. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. I think they said he is a lawyer. I don't really know the proper term, but it said a one-time prosecutor is charged with second-degree murder in connection with the fatal beating of his ex-wife. And this is told to a northwestern Minnesota judge on Thursday that he objected to a move by prosecutors that could result in a tougher sentence if he is convicted. And I'm getting this story by way of lawandcrime.com. Y'all know I get a lot of articles from them, so thank you very much for the article. Let me see if I can get his picture back up here real quick. Beautiful kids. This fool, this dummy that y'all see on my screen right here, his name is Anders Odegaard. Guard. Odegaard. If that's not how you pronounce it, then I just got it wrong. But he is charged with fatally attacking his ex-wife, Carissa Odegaard. Let me see if I can get her face up on the screen. He just looked like he's just done with life. Like he just don't care anymore. He's got a pretty smile. That's his wife over there on the right hand, or ex-wife. But he fatally attacked her with a knife or a spatula. The attack occurred Tuesday, according to a criminal complaint and an attached affidavit obtained by Law and Crime. Those court documents and Carissa's family, by way of an online post, together indicated that the victim had been declared brain dead by doctors. Her body was reportedly kept alive for some time after the attack until her organs could be prepped for donation. And that has got to be hard for the family to have to know that. I'm sure nobody wants to go through something like that. And y'all could tell they had a bunch of kids. Brace yourselves. I'm getting ready to talk about something that's probably going to get some people's pennies in a bunch. How long have I been saying having a bunch of children adds a lot of stress to parents? You look at these children and they're all beautiful children. I believe that all children, black, white, or brown, don't care what race, nationality, where they are from. All children are beautiful children. Okay? Once they are here, they need to be protected and cared for. But they are a lot of responsibility. I have 2 children. And me trying to get my life on track has been challenging, to say the least, with just 2. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids, and it looks like they had them all in succession, one right after another, consecutively. I want y'all to think about something. Whenever you have children, and I know a lot of times people say that you should love all your children equally, spend as much time with them, and spread your time out equally, you can't do that. When either dad has to work, mom has to work, or y'all both have to work, you're already taking a ton of time away from these kids, yes? These kids need your time and attention. They need mom and dad. We try to supplement by putting them with daycare, by putting them with family members. We try to supplement it because we can't give them all our time because we got to go work. We got to pay bills. We want a nice house. We want to try to keep all our bills on, keep our cell phone on, keep gas in the car when gas is like $113 a gallon, right? Cell phone prices are going through the roof. Got to keep clothes on their back. Got to put them in school. Got food shortages. Food is suffering inflation, right? Why am I bringing up all of this? The number one reason why people get divorced? Finances. Where am I going with this? Finances. Remember, this show isn't about the news. If you came for the news, this is the wrong show. You might as well go to your tablet and boom, hit that X in the top right corner. This is the wrong show. This ain't the news. I'm not Ted Koppel or whoever the hell it is that you watch on the news. I don't know who's on the news. I'm giving my opinion about the things that happen in hopes to prevent these things going forward. Finances is the number one statistical reason that people get divorced. You have so much responsibility, and while we're talking about finances, I damn sure hope that nobody emails me or leaves a comment in my goddamn comment section. Yes, gas is $113 a gallon, if y'all haven't heard. Hashtag screw Biden. Screw Biden, okay? So I want y'all to think about this. With having all of these kids, you got to provide for them. It is already a task in itself to try to earn that much money. And then by the time y'all get home, you get off of work, you look at each other, and then it's just like y'all are both stressed out. You might gripe about this, gripe about that. Next thing you know, y'all in a full-blown argument. I'm going to assume that statistically, finances have something to do with why they got a divorce. I don't know that. I don't have their divorce decree in front of me, but I'm just going to assume that finances probably played a part. They got 5 kids, and I'm pretty sure for anybody, and matter of fact, with him being an ex-prosecutor, y'all know he has every bit of information about how hard that system is going to be on him when he gets divorced from her. That man, as far as finances, is going to be screwed up a creek without a paddle. He's going to have to pay for alimony, which is just money that he will owe to her, depending on where they were financially, and then have to pay child support for 5 kids. Not one. Matter of fact, there are men out there that have had their back broken in child support over 1 kid, let alone 2, let alone 3, let alone 4, let alone 5. Now you got to move out. Now you got to get another place to live. Now you got to start a whole nother set of bills while continuing to help your wife that you made a legal commitment for life to. Got to help her too, because she's going to have the kids in her possession. Does that give him an excuse for what he did? The answer is no, it never does. But what I'm saying is not to them. What I'm saying is not for their benefit. What I'm saying is for people before they get to this point. Hello. Preventative. What's the solution, Jay? We got to start talking about how to not get to a point of pressure busting a pipe. We got to start thinking about this, and we got to stop being selfish before we say we want kids. Well, what about what those kids want? How can you make these kids' dreams come true if you have so many of them that you financially can't make it happen? That's shit we got to start thinking about as parents before we get married and before we start procreating. Yes? Here's what I believe. I believe that this man knew what was going to come down the pipeline, He knew that he was going to be financially hampered by this. I think that sometimes husbands and wives can be petty. I don't know if any of y'all have ever been married. Husbands and wives can be petty sometimes, especially when you're on the verge of breaking up. Here's another thing. A lot of times, another big reason why people break up and get divorced, infidelity. Infidelity. What if he's got a woman on the side now since they're getting a divorce? What if she's got a boyfriend on the side? She's a pretty lady. I'm sure it wouldn't be hard for her to get another man that's interested in her. I'm pretty sure that even though she has 5 kids, there are still men that were actively trying to holler at her. Would y'all like to see her inbox on Facebook? I'm pretty sure it's freaking full, unless it was disabled. That's another aspect. So maybe there was some words exchanged and he looked up and just snapped on her. We could look at this in one of 2 ways. We could look at it and say that he was an asshole. He needs to go to jail for life. End of story. Who's going to raise those kids? Another way you could look at this. Here's the second way you can look at this, and some of y'all aren't going to like this. This is why you come here, is to hear my real opinion, right? Okay, so I'm going to give it to you. Second way you can look at this and say, at least he didn't hurt the kids. He only hurt who he was mad at. The people who will look at this and put the children secondary to the mother are going to get mad about what I just said. They're going to leave me angry comments. They're going to say angry things. They're going to send me threats. They're going to put petitions out and say, I need to have my channel canceled for what I just said, acting like this woman's life doesn't matter, which is not what I said at all. I think her life did matter, and I think that this dude was dumb for what he did, lashing out because he couldn't be a man. He didn't have the huevos. He didn't have the cojones to step up and be a man and take care of his responsibility and just deal what comes with it. That's what happens. Life is going to crush you financially. You get your punk ass up, dust yourself off, and figure out how to live. That's all you can do. It's not fun. It's not nice. And his smug ass, I want you to think about that. While you were probably prosecuting people, not giving a shit about what was going to happen to their future and how they emotionally felt, yes, this thing going on up in here, he didn't give a shit about that. His job as a prosecutor was to get convictions. Holla if you hear me. Huh? He didn't care about what happened to people emotionally until it happened to him. Foresight. That's why when people are guilty and for doing heinous things, you got to hold them accountable. But you also have to have a level of balance to understand, hey, if I were in this situation, what would I do to myself? Now he's going to be the one prosecuted for what he did to his ex-wife, which was some punk ass shit. You killed her for what? You think you couldn't have bounced back? There is a timeline for raising kids. It's 18 years. At some point, they will be self-sufficient. If you are a good father and a good mother, they will end up being self-sufficient. I haven't even told y'all the rest of the details yet. I'm just speaking from the heart, and I hope y'all don't mind. At some point, those kids will want to work on their own, provide for themselves, be independent, and go out into the world and hopefully become something great. Then your job as a parent, for the most part, is done. There is an end of the road. There is an end to this race. But you don't just get mad and just go kick your wife's ass and go kill her just because you feel like you wouldn't be able to get through the race. That's not what you do. And I'm speaking from personal experience. Yes, you get mad. No, you don't like it. Will it screw you up financially? Yes. I understand that better than anybody does. I understand that better than anybody does, whether people care or whether they don't. I know how depressing and emotional that is. And as men, he has made us take a bunch of steps in the wrong freaking direction. This makes us all look bad. Let me give y'all some more details. I know I done talked about this in a personal way. Here are the details of the story from Law and Crime. The documents lay out a bloody and violent scene witnessed by several of the children of the couple's children. Let me say that again. The kids saw their mother get murdered. They saw it. Let me give a shout out real quick. Elissa Deeds is in the building. My friend, want to show you some love. She's been a big, big help to me in so many stories, and I definitely, truly, truly appreciate you, and thank you for being here. The children witnessed their father killing their mother. A fit of choking is alleged to have occurred. The narratives insinuate that a bloodied Anders tried to immediately wash his clothes after the alleged murder and then met a police officer at his door wearing only his boxers. One of the couple's children washed blood off his little brother in the denouement of the melee, according to sheriff's deputies. I don't even know what word that is. Denouement. I get what they're saying, but I don't even know that word. Denouement. Okay. So that is outcome, consequence, result, end result. Okay, I did not know that. The denouement. So the defendant caused the death of a victim who was found to not be breathing and had severe head trauma with blood pooling on the floor by the victim's head, the complaint says in the summary. According to Fargo, North Dakota television station KVLY, Odegaard also told a judge this week that he was neither a risk to public safety nor a risk to his 5 children. I totally disagree with that. At least some of whom who allegedly witnessed the violent and deadly attack. I think if he did this to his wife, there's no telling what this man would have done if they let him out on bail or bond. A court document signed Thursday indicates that a judge disagreed, which I do too. A checkbox on the form indicates that the defendant's release would endanger public safety unless significant strings were attached to any pretrial departure from custody. The defendant can post bail by offering a combined $250,000 cash and a $2.5 million bond, with most of the usual conditions attached. Among them were to surrender of a passport, an agreement to remain in the state of Minnesota, and that the defendant would have no contact with his minor children until further order of the court. A judge ordered a $5 million cash or surety bail with fewer conditions attached, a whopping and nearly insurmountable figure. I haven't heard of a $5 million bail. Why even present that? You know he ain't got no $5 million. Matter of fact, I didn't even show y'all this. Let me show you this real quick. Y'all remember when I was talking about their finances and how I said they might have been having money issues? Let me show you why I tell y'all that. Here's why. Let me show you something. Like Jim Carrey would say. Let me show you something. This is their GoFundMe for funeral expenses and to help support the children. Somebody by the name of Jessica Ford is organizing this fundraiser on behalf of the mother and the children and requested $75,000 in GoFundMe money. $75,000. Remember how we always talk about life insurance? Let me ask you guys a question. Don't you think, because maybe you say, well, the kids are too young for life insurance, which I disagree. I think everybody should have life insurance. Everybody, just like everybody has to have car insurance, everybody should have life insurance. With her being the age that she is, I don't know if I saw her age in here. It didn't list her age. She's grown. She got 5 kids. Why does she not have a life insurance policy? Let me throw another thing out there. Let me throw another zinger out there for those who might get mad about me talking about this GoFundMe. The mortality rate, and I got to give a shout out to Tommy for this. I've heard him say this. This is where I got it from. The mortality rate in the United States of America for women giving birth and dying during childbirth is very high, and it's the most high in the United States of America, and it's higher than any rate than any other place in the world. How many of you guys knew that? We have more women in America dying giving childbirth than any other place. So if you're going to have 1 kid, why not have life insurance? If you're going to have 2, why not get life insurance? You made a 3rd, why? You made a 4th, why? Then you had a 5th, still no life insurance? And if you did, then there would be no reason to put up almost a $100,000 GoFundMe. Whether it is to bury her and help have some funds for the kids, but again, that's why I say we need to be thinking preemptively about this stuff. Yes, it's going to be hard for somebody else, not the mother or the father, to raise these 5 kids. They're beautiful kids and they deserve to have somebody that can help raise them. Yes, they do. But that's also not the public's responsibility. That's the responsibility of family members. That's what the family circle is for. Crowdfunding is not meant to raise people's kids. That's what life insurance is for. Let me get that off my screen. That's why I brought it up, and I said maybe they were having some financial issues, because $75,000 is quite a bit. Regardless of bail, the judge ordered the defendant to have no contact, direct or indirect, with the family of the crime victim. The court docket indicates that the defendant was a first declared ineligible to be represented by a public defender, but that decision quickly changed. The next hearing in this matter is scheduled for August the 30th, which was 2 days ago. So that's already happened. An amended criminal complaint and affidavit obtained by Law and Crime spells out the allegations against the defendant. It indicates that a responding police officer met 2 of the 5 children, a passerby near the residence where the fatal beating occurred. The passerby said that the boys told him to call 911 because their mom was bleeding really bad and needed help, the document reads. The deputy told the children to remain with the passerby while he attempted to contact the defendant. Deputy McMahon asked the defendant, I'm sure I messed his name up. The deputy asked the defendant to come out to speak with him, the affidavit indicates. The defendant came out from the kitchen area and was just standing in his gray boxer-style briefs. By then, the officers began to arrive at the scene. He said, "I don't feel right," the defendant allegedly repeated. He was then arrested for domestic assault as a preliminary charge. The constabulary then returned their attention to the couple's 5 children. 3 of the children were waiting in the victim's running vehicle while the other 2 remained with the passerby. The children were told they would be taken to the police station. I think I could probably skip the majority of this. Damn, there's a lot of information. There is a lot of information. So if you want to check this out, just go to lawandcrime.com and you can read more of the finer details. But I think I've really made all of the points that I wanted to make. And again, there are no news videos about this, which I was really shocked that they didn't even just show it in the news. Why this wasn't a big story is beyond me. But nonetheless, I definitely hope that a family member, somebody that's close to the family, rather than trying to put all of these kids in a foster care system, because that is going to suck. So I hope that a family member can bring these kids in, take care of them, help them raise them, and so that they can grow up and become somebody great. But what this dude did, sorry, I said that wrong. What this alleged father did, this ex-prosecutor did to his wife and to his children, to his family and to his future is absolutely inexcusable. And I think that asswipe needs life in prison. Y'all tell me what you think. Regardless of what they were going through, you don't do that to this woman and to that mother. You just can't. Regardless of whether she made you mad or not. So RIP to the mother. And y'all, please keep those children in your prayers. So in a sense, this is somewhat of a positive story because the children survived and at least their legacy will live on and they can grow up and become something great outside of their weak ass father. Life in prison for him. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Post a comment. That's what it's there for. But let me know what you think. Thank you. Let me go ahead and move on to story number 2. So moderators and channel members, if you guys want to let the people know, we are on story number 2 out of 5. And when you guys come in, if y'all will click that thumbs up, that would help us out quite a bit. So let's talk about this Tampa father. This is going to be the second story that's on our thumbnail. Oh no, it did it again. Oh my gosh. Hold on, y'all. I hate this thing. It disappeared again. Hold on. Let me try to add these videos back again. Y'all give me just a second. Media video. Tampa. And boom. 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 Oh, goodness. This sucks so bad, man. When I get everything the way that I want it, and then things just keep messing up. So y'all bear with me just a second here. Is this it? All right, there we go. Let me move that down. Boom, boom, boom. Right there. Okay, I got to remember not to delete all my videos because it takes the whole thing away. So let me go ahead and move on to see. This is ex-wife. And let's talk about this guy right here. If you guys would do me a favor and click that thumbs up, what it does is help share this video and let more people know that we are live. And we currently have, let me refresh, I think we got about 475 people here. So we got 310 thumbs up. Can we try to get 400 thumbs up real quick before we start? We're on story 2 out of 5. We're doing 5 stories tonight. Y'all know I got my 20-year class reunion this weekend. So I'm going to be going all weekend. I'm literally only going to have time to go do that, come back, got more stuff to do, and then maybe I can try to get back over here and work through some more of you guys' emails. But you got to kind of bear with me a little bit. Encyclopedia of True Crime in the Unknown. Maybe he canceled her life insurance without her knowledge. There's a lot of scenarios. There's definitely a lot of scenarios that we could talk about with that. But I hear you, though. I definitely hear you. So we're at 328 thumbs up. So for the people who are listening to the sound of my voice, if you'll just close the live chat just for a moment, all it does is helps bring more people in. Excuse me, it brings more people in. So a lot of our subscribers aren't being notified when we go live, and this is the only way that they'll get it. YouTube will recommend it higher in their feeds if you guys will click that thumbs up. It costs nothing, and that is completely free. Show support by giving a thumbs up. It is free. Thank you, Susie Q. Thank you, Faye. And we got a birthday in the building. Happy birthday, Lady Blue. If I am not mistaken, if it is your birthday, then happy birthday. And thank you for sharing your birthday with us. We definitely appreciate that. Definitely want to show you some love. Let me check the volume. Birthday in the building. Happy birthday, Lady. Okay, volume is good. Are we missing anybody else? I think we got everybody. If anything else comes in, if anybody donates, then I will read them when they come in. I think we are current right now, if I'm not mistaken. I think. How do I even get over there? Oh, it's right here. Well, they need to stop changing stuff. We are at 341. We're trying to get to 400. So that means we need 58 more people. Clout chasing 2,300. Chasing clout. Hey, AFC. AFC, hey, love. Looking in. Much love to your chat. So chasing clout 2,300. Much love. Appreciate that. Thank you. Sorry I messed your name up the first time. I put the notification on specifically for this video an hour before it started, but I got no notification. Sorry about that, Nicole. I'm so sorry about that. That sucks. I don't know how to fix it. I really don't, but I'm glad that you're here, though. At least you didn't miss the whole thing. I got $10K free life insurance just for being a member of my credit union. Now, that is awesome. Shout out Sarah J. I might need to look into that. I'd like to get some free life insurance that I ain't got to pay for. Might need to look into that. We all might need to look into that. Oh, there was something, and this will be real quick. I meant to talk about this. I don't know if you guys are familiar with my friend Princella over there at the High Powered Podcast. And I'm glad I didn't forget about this because I had the book sitting right there. But she wrote a book called The 5 Components of Love. And I wanted to support her, but I also was interested in her information. So let me show you guys this real quick so you guys can look this up. So I know that right now she focuses a lot of her material on speaking to the ladies, which I think is actually really cool. It's actually very, very unique. Her take on a lot of things is very unique. So you might want to check her out over at the High Powered Podcast. And this is her book that I purchased from her link, from her page on Amazon. Or her website, not Amazon, her website. But you have to look her up on YouTube. The 5 Components of Love. But I wanted to make sure and shout her out so y'all can see that. As you can see from the little bookmark there, I've already started reading that. I don't read very often, but when I do, I'm definitely going to read that entire book. So shout out to my friend Princella. I think we're almost there. We're at 3 something. I don't know. Sure, shout her. I went too far back. So this next story is coming out of Hillsborough County. Where is that? See if I can look it up. Oh, that's Florida. Good Lord, man. Florida is pushing out a lot of stories. So this Florida father, let's talk about this. Are y'all ready to get started? Let's get it. Ladies and gentlemen, this story comes out of Florida. And the man that you just saw on my screen, let me see if I can back that up just for a second. This guy right here is going to be the subject of this story. But it's going to have some details that are probably going to rock you to the core. I'm getting this information specifically from dailymail.com. I was going to use another website, but I kind of like Daily Mail, kind of how their format is. It's a little bit visually easier for me to digest. But before we get into this story, for those who have never been here, you might find my content controversial or offensive. The information is coming from many different sources, including court records. The information, or excuse me, my commentary is about the facts of this story. So they're going to be my personal opinions in some of this. The point is to use this as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like this. Viewer discretion is advised, and that is your official disclaimer. And yes, initially when they listed this story, they had his name as Lavonda Bass, and y'all know with a name like that, I was definitely going to have some really negative things to say just about his name alone. It sounds kind of feminine, but Jermaine Bass, so we'll call him Jermaine Bass. A 5-year-old girl was killed, and her 8-year-old brother is currently fighting for his life after the siblings' father shot them both in the head shortly after their mother kissed them goodnight. That is a horrible way to start a story. This dummy on my screen, Jermaine Lavonda Bass, who's 30 years old, was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, first-degree attempted murder, and aggravated child abuse on August the 29th. This was only 2 days ago from the moment I'm making this video. After he claimed that he accidentally shot his children multiple times as they laid in bed in Tampa, Florida. I need to reread that sentence again because I'm just like, how dumb could you possibly be? I know there's, like Meek Mill says, there's levels to this. And I think about, what are the levels of dumb? What are the levels of dumb? Because this is a level of dumb. If maybe he thinks the public is dumb, maybe he thinks the police are dumb. Maybe he truly believed that his story made sense. But let me read it again. This man claimed that he accidentally shot his children multiple times while they were laying in bed after their mom put them to sleep. They were shot multiple times accidentally. The famous philosopher known as Ye said, "How, Sway, how?" Well, I'm going to tell you how. The violence has shocked Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department and the local community after the little girl was pronounced dead following the shooting. On Monday night, just after 10 p.m., the children's mother left a restaurant where she was eating to tuck her children into bed and go to sleep herself. She went upstairs. She went upstairs to where the children were in their bunk beds. She kissed her daughter, who giggled in the top bunk because she was pretending to be asleep, Sheriff Chad Chronister said. She kissed her 8-year-old son and then rushed out of the room to go to the bathroom. Suddenly, she heard multiple gunshots fired. Initially, she thought it was outside, but she realized it was coming from inside the house at the Armature Gate townhomes. The mother rushed outside for safety, where she was met by a neighbor who was already frantically calling 911. I'm going to go back into those details here in a minute because that was a mouthful. At nearly the same moment, her husband rushed outside the house with their grievously wounded son in his arms. "Call for help, call for help, call for help," Bass said, according to the sheriff. When the deputies initially arrived on the scene, they see the father in the family room cradling their 8-year-old son, saying it was an accident, Chronister said. The father told deputies, "I don't know how the gun went off. I accidentally shot my son." Emergency medical technicians take the child away from the dad and began advanced life support, working furiously to save the child's life. When officers asked Bass if anybody else was in the house, he said, "My daughter is upstairs sleeping," according to the sheriff. That's another weird thing that he said. But hold on, guys. We'll get there. We'll scroll back here in a moment. Deputies go upstairs only to find the gruesome discovery. There's a 5-year-old laying in the top bunk, laying in a pool of her own blood, Chronister said. She is shot 2 or 3 times in the head. Let me say that again. 2 to 3 times, allegedly, accidentally. 2 to 3 times, accident. Okay. The same injury that the 8-year-old had sustained and suffered from, so he was shot at least twice in the head. Both children were taken to Tampa General Hospital. The girl could not be saved, the sheriff said. Our 8-year-old is fighting for his life, Chronister said, choking up momentarily during a press conference. I hope this individual feels the full weight of the criminal justice system and never sees the light of day never sees the light of day and can never harm another human being. I don't know why they wrote it like that. They wrote that wrong. Police found a .380 semi-automatic handgun in the house. Other than his statement saying the shooting was accidental, Bass gave no further statement explaining his actions. Whoa, Nelly, hold on. Let's back this on up like a U-Haul truck. Let's back this up. And let's go back to this initial thing. Let's go back to the story. Because a lot of these details are missing. So I know a lot of times people will go back and they'll watch these stories that are family members or people that know them. And they'll say, well, Jay, you weren't there. You don't know the story. Well, guess what? The prosecutors don't know the story. The police don't know the story. The judge don't know the story. And the jury is not going to know the story. Nobody was there except them. They're the only ones who know. So everybody is going to be speculating or using the evidence that is in front of them. Okay? So here's the evidence that we have in front of us. So far, they said that the children's mother, first of all, let me say this before we even get there. Hold on. First of all, I think he's a stupid idiot. He looks very slow. Like he looks like if you put a bottle of molasses in the freezer, took it out and tried to pour it out, that's what he looks like. He looks very slow. You put him next to a turtle in a race and he will probably lose. Really slow. He's really dumb and he's life in prison and maybe even the ultimate penalty under law. Okay, but we'll get there. Okay, that's first and foremost. I'm not victim blaming. What I'm saying is I just want to know the story. I just want to know what happened. I'm not victim blaming. But here's what I'm asking. Why was the children's mother at a restaurant without her 2 kids and without her husband? Is that illegal? No, because she had been with a friend, a girlfriend? Sure. Nothing wrong with that. Because she had been with family members? Sure. That happens all the time. But I'm asking in relation to what caused him to snap and shoot his children. And I'm assuming that was done to inflict pain on the mother. And the question is why? Was it because of dinner? Who was she at dinner with? I think that's important. Because we're talking about the narrative. What precipitated this? The only way that we can prevent this thing from happening going forward is if we know what led up to it. Was she there with another man? Were they getting a divorce? Was she seeing somebody else? Were they cheating on each other? Did he call cheaters and the cheaters team went up there and got him video surveillance and brought it back to him and showed him, well, here's what your wife is doing at approximately 7:58 p.m. She met a young gentleman that pulls up in a white Chevy Cavalier with the license plate such and such. You don't recognize this car, do you? Joey Greco, that's his name, Joey Greco. And so Joey is telling him, and they get out of the car, and our team followed them into the restaurant. And as you guys can see, they're holding hands and they're looking into each other's eyes, and they're pouring wine into each other's cups, and they're putting it around, and it looks like they're getting very cozy. Right? Then the waiter comes and asks them if they want their check, and they say, no, we're not done. We're going to sit here for a little while. And as you can see from our next video, now they're exiting the restaurant. It looks like they're being a little bit friendly. As you guys can tell, this is probably not their first time meeting each other. They look very, very familiar with each other. As you can see, they have a very warm embrace. They get into the car and then they leave. And then she goes back home to you, sir. Then she goes back home to you, sir. That's just a possible scenario because we don't know. Next thing, when she got home, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make this funny. Sometimes, guys, we got to laugh because these stories are really sad. This is really sad. These babies did nothing to deserve this at all. This is really sad. Next part. She came right in, went upstairs, kissed her children, kissed them good night. So she didn't put them to bed. Dad put them to bed. She kissed them good night. Then it says the next thing that she did was she rushed out of the room to go to the bathroom. And I'm getting this from Daily Mail. This is not my words. I want y'all to think about what I just said, all jokes aside, and I want you to think about this. There are a number of words they could have used. They could have said she walked to the bathroom, she made her way to the bathroom, she exited the bedroom and went to the bathroom. They said she rushed to the bathroom. Flip the scenario, and I want y'all to just think about how that sounds. Thank you. Somebody said it sounds fishy. It does. It smells like they got perch all up and through that house because this sounds very, very fishy. They specifically said, and I quote from dailymail.com, look the article up. It says she kissed her 8-year-old son and then rushed, R-U-S-H-E-D, rushed out of the room to go to the bathroom. What if a husband did that? He was at dinner without his wife, without his kids, had dinner with whoever he had dinner with, went home, rushed upstairs, kissed the kids, and then rushed into the bathroom. Ladies, somebody tell me, how would that sound if your husband did that? Rush to the bathroom? Why did you rush to the bathroom? Something's going on that just doesn't sound right. The reason I bring all of that up is just to say what precipitated this. Until he says it, we really don't know, or unless she says something. But I'm not going to lie. In a lot of these situations, the person on the other end, which in this case is the mother, is never going to be honest and real about what the part is that they played in making this person this level of upset. I'm not blaming her, but something happened. Something was said. You would think. You don't accidentally shoot your children 3 to 4 times in the head, the baffled sheriff said. He seemed to grapple with the possibility that the motive behind the shooting would remain a mystery. Well, I've already threw a couple of scenarios out there, so take it with a grain of salt. I don't know why he did this, the sheriff said. I don't know if we'll ever know, but let me say this. So I'm hoping that this man will watch this video. Somebody will tell him that I talked about his story on the AFC podcast. Sir, they're already going to send you to jail for life. You're never going to get out of prison. You might even face the ultimate penalty under law if they give you the death sentence. So the least you could do is just tell us why you did it. What pissed you off so bad? Did she do something that made you mad? Just tell us. Why not tell us at this point? You've already ruined 2 beautiful children's lives for absolutely no reason, and we hope that that other child survives this. So keep a prayer hands up in the chat for that. Because that's God is apparently not done with that baby yet. So keep a prayer hands up in the chat for that other child and hope he pulls through. There were no previous domestic violence calls to the house, and Baz has no criminal history, no prior criminal history. The mother has not made a complete statement to the police yet. Like I say, maybe some of the story will come out then. To this mother who lost one child and could possibly lose a second, and whose marriage is obviously over, our heart goes out to you. I certainly will pray for all of you today, Chronister said. Sheriff's deputies and other first responders were shaken to the core by this crime. This is a horrific experience and no parent should have to go through. This experience no law enforcement or first responder should ever have to witness. We as Sheriff's Office are struggling today. So let me go ahead and show the couple of news videos that we have. If I can close that real quick. Let me give you guys the fair usage. I don't know, man. Tell me what you guys think. Let's get it. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. Like I said, I know not everybody's going to understand my perspective, but I do want people to share this story because we definitely want to get justice for those kids because they did nothing to deserve this. If you guys would do me a favor and click that thumbs up if you're watching this video. It only takes a moment. Click that thumbs up. Share the AFC podcast videos because we're hoping to try to prevent these things from going forward and hopefully get more of the story because the more we know, the better we can get and hopefully preventing these things from happening going forward. Here we go. Cindy C, last name starts with a C. Cindy, if you're listening, I just got yours just now and said, just because I want to say thank you very much if you're listening. I just didn't want you to miss it because I know you're in the chat right now. I want to say thank you. So, all right, let's keep going.
He's currently facing several charges, including first-degree murder and attempted first-degree murder. Sheriff Chronister says HCSO had never been called out to this address in the past, and Bass had no prior criminal history. Now, as for that 8-year-old little boy, we're told he underwent surgery last night after arriving at the hospital. Like I said, he had been shot 2 to 3 times in the head, and today he's still fighting for his life in critical condition. A heartbreaking story in Hillsborough County as a 5-year-old little girl is now dead and an 8
Begin tonight with those new details in the death of a 5-year-old girl. Good evening and welcome to ABC Action News at 5. I'm Jamison Euler.
And I'm Wendy Ryan. Thank you for joining us. The girl's dad is charged in that shooting that killed the little girl and critically injured her 8-year-old brother. Tonight, court documents are giving us more insight into exactly what happened.
Our Vanessa Ariza is live at the Hillsborough County Jail tonight, where that father is right now. And Vanessa, we have a little more insight into what that father called an accident.
That's right. Good evening to you both. Disturbing details, I'll tell you, in those court documents. As for their father, Jermaine Bass Jr., he remains here in a cell at the jail with no bond. He was slated to go in front of a judge this morning. However, the public defender waiving his appearance. Now he is set to have the next court appearance and date Friday morning at 9 o'clock. Now, as for those newly released court documents, it's giving us more details about what exactly took place Monday night at Armature Gate Townhomes. That investigation showing us that when deputies arrived, they found the children's mother in hysterics outside in the parking lot. Inside, they found Bass with his 8-year-old son in his arms on the couch. The little boy's head, it was wrapped in a towel. That report saying that that little boy was coherent, saying, "My head hurts." Upstairs, they found his 5-year-old sister still in her top bunk bed with a gunshot wound to the middle of her forehead. A total of 5 shell casings were found in the children's bedrooms. Inside the master bedroom, deputies found a gun. It was empty, as was the magazine right next to it. Bass telling deputies that he was attempting to remove the magazine when the gun went off. At the hospital where the children were taken, the mother was interviewed. She told deputies that her husband was familiar with the gun, knew how it functioned. He knew how to clean it as well as disassemble it. Now, earlier today, we were at the courthouse awaiting Bass's first court appearance. While we were there, we saw family members of the children visibly upset, understandably so, and did not wish to speak with the media. Live in Hillsborough County tonight, Vanessa Ariza, ABC Action News.
Good morning, everyone. This is a case that is not only tragic.
I'm going to let some of this play, but I kind of want y'all to hear a little more of the details. So I'm going to let some of this play before I skip to the next video.
But extremely disturbing. around 10:30 p.m. last evening, a mother's out for dinner and is making every effort she can to get home before her children go to sleep. So she arrives at the house and goes upstairs to say goodnight to her 5-year-old daughter, who sleeps in the top bunk, and her 8-year-old son, who sleeps in the bottom bunk. When she goes and kisses both of them goodnight, her 5-year-old daughter even giggles because she was trying to act like she was already asleep. So she kisses both her children asleep, leaves them there with the children's father, her husband, and runs to the restroom because she has to go to the bathroom. While she's going to the bathroom, she hears several gunshots. She initially believed that the gunshots happened right outside her residence, but then sometime shortly thereafter said these gunshots were too close. Fearing for her own life, she runs outside. When she runs outside, she encounters her next door neighbor. He had already made gunshots were too close. Fearing for her own life, she runs outside. Gunshots were too close. Fearing for her own life, she runs outside. Gunshots were too close. Fearing for her own life, she runs outside.
Here's the part where I know AFC, come on, y'all know me well enough. Y'all have been listening to me for long enough. Even if you've been listening to me for 4 weeks, y'all have been listening to me long enough. For a person that loves their children, that will protect their children and do anything for their children. And I said this about a woman in California, and she ended up flagging my whole video down. Like, I can't even post the video based on what I said. What protective parent will hear gunshots and automatically think to save their life first without first running for my kids? Thank you. Somebody in the chat just said it. Y'all, but thank you. I know some of y'all, for some of y'all, that's the first thing you thought. And for other people, I know y'all been watching me long enough to know that I've said that plenty of times. When you hear a person say, I would do anything for my kids, I would die for my kids, I protect my kids, I would jump in front of a bullet for my kids, I want y'all to think about how many times have I presented these stories where these parents have an opportunity to literally jump in front of a bullet, and the first thing that they thought was run. Y'all know that that funny TikTok thing where they say run, duh, 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 run, duh, 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 duh. It's like that's like kind of what this story paints for me. It's like one of those scenes on TikTok, and they're like, pow, 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 run, duh, 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 duh. And she darts out the house. I want y'all to notice how she ran outside and did not run for her children. What does that mean to Just Jay? What are we missing? To me, that indicates that she might have known that he was pissed, might have known that he was upset, might have known that something precipitated this, and knew, oh shit, he done shot my kids, and she ran and didn't run to go protect her kids because she was thinking about her own hiney, her own hide, and wanted to protect herself knowing that he was armed. That's why for me it's key, because we're not going to hear it from her. I honestly do not have any faith that this woman is going to tell what she did that might have pissed him off. I have zero faith in that. 99.9% chance that she would not do an interview, not be in court, not release any statements to tell us what led up to this. The only person I believe that might do that is the man that's going to end up on death row, and that's this father. And I feel like he owes the world that. Tell us what happened, dude. Because here's what I hate about men. Can I tell y'all what I hate about men? Somebody in the chat said, let's get 100 more likes for the AFC podcast. Thank you so much for believing in what we stand for here. Thank you, Susie. I appreciate that. If y'all would please hit that thumbs up. Let's talk about this. This is what I dislike about men in general. The things that could help us is for us to start being honest. We are so freaking scared to be honest with people. Open up and stand on our actions. Were you hurt, sir? Where does it hurt? Point to where it hurts, sir. Is that so wrong? It's okay to be hurt. It's okay to tell us what's bothering you. Are you suffering from mental illness? It's okay to talk about that. You remember the basketball player, John Wall? You remember him? Used to play for the Houston Rockets, used to play for the Wizards. Now he's currently playing for the, he's going to be playing for the Clippers this year. He came out and said that he thought about committing suicide. And you know what people said? You basically got paid for 3 years to sit on your butt and didn't have to do nothing. You're an idiot for even thinking that, for even saying that. Rather than he was honest about how he felt, he went and got help for how he felt and dealt with it because he opened his mouth and said something. How many men are suffering in silence and end up blowing up and doing stupid shit like this? There are too many men. That's why I get scared, and sometimes I kind of like my solitude. Because I know a lot of men that are out there on the edge for simple things like they feel like they can't talk to anybody. Nobody wants to hear them. Nobody is there to listen. Ask my friends about me. Talk to some of my friends. Ask Kurt Dog. Has DJ Just Jay ever been a listening ear for you if you were going through something or just wanted to express something, get something off your chest? Ask any of my friends. For as long as I can remember, I've never really been a good talker, but guess one thing I've always been good at? Listening. I've always been a good listener. You remember the young dude in Oklahoma that found out that his baby mom was cheating on him after 13 years, sleeping with men unprotected, gave him an STD, and he decided to take it out on his 3 kids and shot him on the west side of Oklahoma City, shot him in the car, and then took his own life? You remember that, coward? You remember that? What was the one thing that dude said? He said he reached out to people, and he said, all I wanted was a conversation. And he felt like he couldn't even talk about his emotional distress. There are so many days, even for me, I felt like just laying down. I suffer from depression. There are many days I just don't want to get up and do anything. Then my best friend will call me. What up? What you up to? And next thing you know, I'm in a full-blown conversation about what I've been dealing with. And after we get off that conversation, next thing I know, I look up and I'm like, oh, damn, I done went to work. I went and ate. I went and ran errands. And I done came back home and I'm good. And it could be just this simple. Thank you for understanding that. Thank you very much, channel member in the chat, for saying that in the chat. Sometimes it can be, matter of fact, even for, I can't tell y'all the details of this, but I can say, some of the beefs that are going on around the world that I live in and the people I know, you want to know what the biggest discrepancy is? Communication. Most beef and most bullcrap is for a failure of communication and pride. Men are prideful and men fail in the communication department because we don't want to speak. We don't want to be honest. And we want to put on this facade of we're indomitable and nothing can hurt us. If you ask me, I believe that this man was hurt and his soul was hurt by something. What was that something? So you mean to tell me if your life depended on it, which it does in this case, you're not going to even tell us what really happened? I don't expect his wife to. Nope. I don't expect for her to tell us what precipitated this, but it would be nice if that man would step up and say something and tell us, sir, where does it hurt? What hurt you? Who hurt you?
When she runs outside, she encounters her next door neighbor. He had already made a frantic 911 call to our communication center saying that he heard several gunshots. She takes over the phone call and starts talking to our 911 dispatcher. As that phone call is occurring, the husband, the children's father, walks outside carrying the 8-year-old son, saying, call for help, call for help, call for help.
And if y'all could do me a favor, if y'all can click that thumbs up, even if you don't agree, if you could just help share this message. I understand if y'all don't agree, but again, we're looking at a bigger picture and a bigger scope. If y'all could just show some love, we want to have at least one thumb up for everybody that's watching. If y'all would just close the chat, click that thumbs up, open up the chat, type in there, just tell us what you think. And be honest, be real.
Our deputies and Hillsborough County Fire Rescue rushed to the scene and are there a short time later. When our deputies initially arrive on scene, they see the father in the family room cradling the 8-year-old son, saying it was an accident. They're like, sir, what do you mean it was an accident? It was an accident. I don't know how the gun went off. I accidentally shot my son. Fire Rescue gets there and does a wonderful job of initiating every life-saving measure that they can think of to prepare this child to be transported to Tampa General Hospital. The detectives on scene then say, is there anyone else inside the residence? Is there anyone else here? They said, the husband says, my 5-year-old daughter's upstairs sleeping. Deputies go upstairs only to make the gruesome discovery that there's a 5-year-old laying in a top bunk, laying in a pool of her own blood. She is shot 2 to 3 times in her head. The same injury that the 8-year-old had sustained and suffered from. Paramedics come upstairs, again, begin life-saving measures and rush both children to Tampa General Hospital. Our 5-year-old victim has been pronounced deceased. Our 8-year-old is fighting for his life. He went to surgery last evening and this morning is fighting for his life as the wonderful, wonderful doctors and staff at Tampa General Hospital are doing everything they can to save this young boy's life. This is a case that and an experience that no parent should have to live through, and that no law enforcement officer or first responder should ever have to witness. We as a sheriff's office are struggling today. Our detectives and deputies who were on scene are going to need some help, and we're bringing some counselors in to try to get them through this gruesome scene that they had to witness and detectives have to work through as they continue to put the pieces of the puzzle together here. Arrested is Jermaine Lavonda Bass. He's 30 years of age. His date of birth is 4/27/1992. He has been charged with first-degree premeditated murder and first-degree attempted premeditated murder and aggravated child abuse. I hope that this individual feels the full weight of the criminal justice system and never sees the light of day where he can ever be in a position to harm another human being. In Tampa Bay, we're extremely privileged. We have so many wonderful resources. The Spring of Tampa Bay. If anyone ever feels they may be a victim of family violence, pick up the phone and take advantage of such a wonderful resource. The same goes for the crisis center. It's as simple as calling 988.
And too many people won't even take the first step and just say something, admit that they have an issue, and just tell them what's hurting us, what's hurting you. Simple thing. Could have prevented all of this. 2 more news stories.
But first, we want to bring you up to speed on some breaking news we have been following all morning. One child is dead and another is fighting for his life after deputies say a father shot 2 of his own children. Now, this happened on Heritage Club Drive near Gazebo Pond Lane. 10 Tampa Bay's Megan Myers joins us live from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office right now. And Megan, what's the latest?
Well, Emerald, deputies tell us that the children's mother came home from dinner and she went upstairs to kiss her 2 children goodnight. After that, she went into the restroom. And a couple seconds later, she heard several gunshots go off. Scared for her own life, she ran outside. Deputies say a neighbor had already called 911. A short time later, when deputies arrived, they say they found the children's father, Jermaine Bass, holding his 8-year-old son inside the living room. He claimed that it was all an accident. He told deputies he accidentally shot his 8-year-old son. He then told deputies that his 5-year-old daughter was upstairs in her bedroom asleep. But the sheriff says when deputies got up there, what they saw was absolutely horrifying.
There's a 5-year-old laying in a top bunk, laying in a pool of her own blood. She is shot 2 to 3 times in her head. The same injury that the 8-year-old had sustained.
Now, both of those children were rushed to Tampa General Hospital. Unfortunately, that 5-year-old girl did pass away, and we do know that the 8-year-old boy did undergo surgery last night, and now, as you mentioned, Emerald, he's fighting for his life.
I caught that. I don't know if some of y'all caught that. That's slightly incorrect. Let's listen at this again. Let's see if y'all caught that. I caught it as soon as they said it. They just said that she heard gunshots and she ran outside to go find out what happened. Is that the way that went? Or did she say in a different interview that she heard gunshots, feared for her life, and ran outside because she realized it was on the inside of the house and she ran outside to get away from the danger? Does that sound right? That a wife would hear guns outside, shooting outside, and then run outside toward the gunfire? No. Listen at this again.
Was going on. Her neighbor had already called 911.
Listen again. Let me back it up.
Bathroom. That's when she heard gunshots ring out. She told detectives the gunshots sounded close, so she ran outside to figure out what was going on. She heard gunshots ring out. She told detectives the gunshots sounded close, so she ran outside to figure out what was going on. She heard gunshots ring out. She told detectives the gunshots sounded close, so she ran outside to figure out what was going on.
That's bull crap. She said it was too close, so she ran outside to save her life. Let me pull up the document again. Let me pull it up again. See if I can find it. Suddenly, she heard multiple gunshots fired. Initially, she thought it was outside, but she realized it was coming from inside the house at the townhomes. Once she realized it was inside, she rushed outside for her safety, where she was met by a neighbor. Man, the news will pull anything over your eyes if you are not paying attention, y'all. Real spill. Let me say thank you real quick. And Leanne, I did see you in there. I got to say, it is an honor. It is an absolute honor to not only have you as a friend, but family in the show. An honor. Thank you so much for that super chat. What did that message say? Super effective. Hopefully you guys can see that in the chat. Leanne, if you're listening, from my heart to yours, I want to say thank you so much for that. I truly appreciate you blessing me. Always been a blessing and continue to be a blessing. I truly want to say thank you. Let's think about that for a minute. They said, and I quote, she heard multiple gunshots fired. She thought it was coming from outside. When she realized it was coming from inside the house, she ran outside for her safety, where she met her neighbor. And the news said something completely different. And the news said,
and went to use the bathroom. That's when she heard gunshots ring out. She told detectives the gunshots sounded close, so she ran outside to figure out what was going on. Her neighbor had already called 911.
That's bullcrap. She didn't go outside to find out what happened. She ran outside for her own safety and not her children's safety. I think that's good that he doesn't have a past history and show that he had thug tendencies or anything like that. But I want y'all to think about this. That means that whatever account that the mother gave, she gave 2 different accounts about her leaving the townhome. 2 different accounts. 2 of those are completely different. For you to sit there and say that I thought something was going on outside and I ran outside to go be a hero, or you heard the shooting going inside and you ran away and left your kids behind. 2 different stories. That's wild that they would even put that out there and try to spin it that way. I don't know, man. But that's why we got ears. We got 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we can listen better than we can talk. But I think at the end of the day, the only thing that man can do is just tell us why you did it. After that, nothing else even matters. We know what you did. That is a beautiful little girl. That little girl didn't do anything to deserve this. She could have grown up to become anything. And just to know that this world lost a beautiful little face like that. Let me back it up. Beautiful little girl, man. Really, really is the worst thing ever when we lose our children like this. Just in a senseless fashion that you can never make an excuse for. For the son, all we can do, he's gravely wounded. All we can do is just pray for him and hope that he pulls through. And by the good graces up above, from the man above, let's pray that he brings that baby boy through. Because I think he deserves to grow up and have an opportunity to grow up and be something great. Again, that's the story. So RIP to that beautiful soul. And keep a prayer hands up for that baby boy. For him, the only thing we'll do is probably update the story, let you know why he did it. Hopefully he'll open up and do an interview, speak from prison, or whatever it is that he can do. And they'll ultimately sentence him. But we'll probably do an update on this story because this one really, really caught my interest. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the story. And remember to keep the children first in your thoughts in this, okay? So I know some of y'all will have some thoughts, but make sure and keep the children first. And that'll change every bit of how you view these stories, the way that we do at the AFC, okay? Thank you.